Hey, Bills Mafia! Before we dive into today's exclusive update, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the latest Bills news. Our team is always looking for ways to improve to bring that Lombardi trophy home to Buffalo, and every offseason move is critical. Now, let's talk about what's next for our wide receiver room. The Bills had a significant need at wide receiver in 2024. And GM Brandon Beane made a big move by acquiring Amari Cooper. On paper, it seemed like a perfect fit, an experienced, reliable pass catcher for Josh Allen. However, things didn't go as planned. Cooper finished the regular season with just 297 receiving yards in 8 games and added only 41 yards in 3 postseason appearances. Those are not the numbers Buffalo was expecting when they made the trade. With Cooper now set to hit free agency, the Bills must decide whether to bring him back for another shot or move on. If they opt for the latter, ESPN's Aaron Schatz believes Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown could be a realistic target. Schatz initially projected T. Higgins as the ideal solution, but with the Bengals likely using the franchise tag on him, Buffalo has to look elsewhere. According to Schatz, Brown is one of the best deep threat receivers on the market and could be a good fit in Buffalo's offense. The Bills need someone who is fast and can stretch the field while Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid work underneath, Schatz wrote. The best bet to fit that skill set is Brown. Brown's ability to take the top off a defense would certainly give Allen another weapon, but there are some concerns. Brown signed a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Chiefs last offseason, but was limited to just 5 games due to injury. Unfortunately, this wasn't a one-time issue. Brown has missed time in each of the past 3 seasons. 3 games in 2023, 5 in 2022, and 15 in 2024. Even when healthy, his production has been inconsistent. He averaged just 28.2 yards per game last season. A tough pill to swallow, especially given Kansas City's desperate need for playmakers. Would Buffalo be willing to gamble on a player with this injury history? If Brown is signed as the team's primary receiver addition, it could be a risky move that backfires. However, if he's brought in as a secondary acquisition, the upside is there. The Bills need to be careful not to make the same mistake twice, and banking on another receiver with injury concerns could be a major red flag. One of the biggest hurdles in all of this is Buffalo's financial situation. The Bills are currently $10.2 million over the salary cap, meaning they have some tough decisions ahead. If they can't afford to spend big on a top-tier wide receiver, they might be forced to look for cheaper alternatives like Brown. The front office will need to get creative to give Allen the help he needs. While wide receiver is a glaring need, let's not forget about the defense. The Bills have been consistently strong in the regular season, but haven't been able to get past the Chiefs when it matters most. Buffalo's defense ranked 12th in points allowed and 17th in total yards in 2024, but those numbers don't tell the full story. In critical games, the defense struggled, giving up 35 points to the Ravens, 44 to the Rams, and 42 to the Lions. Most notably, they allowed 32 to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. If the Bills want to compete at the highest level, they must improve their pass rush, add a run-stuffing defensive tackle, and strengthen their secondary. A premier pass rusher might be out of reach financially, but the 2025 NFL Draft is deep at both defensive tackle and cornerback. The Bills could target a playmaking corner in free agency when the legal tampering period begins on March 10th. We all remember how the 2024 season ended. Another heartbreaking loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. And while a lot of factors played into that, one thing became painfully obvious. Our lack of depth at cornerback was a major weakness. Christian Benford, one of our best young defensive backs, suffered his second concussion in 2 weeks. That forced Sean McDermott to roll out Kyer Elam, and Patrick Mahomes immediately went to work, exposing him all game long. We had no answers, no adjustments that could save us. It was brutal to watch. Fast forward to this offseason, and things aren't looking much better in the CB room. Benford's health is a legitimate concern. Elam is likely done, and Rasul Douglas is set to hit free agency. That leaves Taron Johnson and Cam Lewis as the only 2 rotation-worthy corners under contract. That's not going to cut it in a league. where elite quarterbacks like Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson are waiting to pick apart weak secondaries. So what do the Bills do? The draft is an option, and we'll likely take a cornerback with one of our early picks. But relying solely on a rookie to step in and save the day is risky. That's why free agency is key. And one name stands out, Asante Samuel Jr. If the name sounds familiar, that's because it is. Asante Samuel Sr. was a 2-time Super Bowl champion and 4-time Pro Bowler. His son, Asante Samuel Jr., was a second-round pick in the 2021 NFL Draft and has quietly built a solid reputation in the league. Over his 4-year career with the Chargers, Samuel has racked up 176 tackles, 37 passes defended, and 6 interceptions. Those numbers are nothing to scoff at. But here's the catch. Los Angeles is letting him walk because he doesn't fit their defensive scheme. At 5'10" and 180 pounds, Samuel struggles in press man coverage and isn't much of a factor in run support. But you know what? That's fine because the Bills don't play a heavy press man scheme. McDermott runs a 4-3 under defense with a lot of cover 3, a system where zone corners like Samuel can thrive. If he's allowed to sit back, keep plays in front of him, and use his instincts to jump routes, Samuel could be a true playmaker in Buffalo's secondary. And at just 25 years old, he still has plenty of room to develop. If the Bills were to sign Asante Samuel Jr., he'd likely be a key piece in a revamped CB room. Here's how it could play out. If Rasul Douglas resigns, Samuel could slide in as a rotational piece, playing outside corner in certain packages while Taron Johnson remains the primary slot guy. If Douglas leaves, Samuel might have to take on a bigger role, potentially starting opposite Benford. If injuries strike again, having Samuel would provide crucial depth, ensuring we don't end up in another Kaiir Elam situation when it matters most. The bottom line? Samuel wouldn't be a cure-all for the Bills' defensive issues, but he would be a smart, cost-effective signing that improves our secondary immediately. Other defensive needs. The draft is our best friend. While cornerback is a major concern, it's not the only area that needs work. The Bills must also beef up the defensive line, especially against the run. Luckily, the 2025 NFL Draft is shaping up to be one of the deepest defensive tackle classes in recent memory. In fact, there's been a 64% increase in combine invites for interior linemen compared to last year. That's a huge deal. Brandon Beane and his staff have already met with standout prospects like Texas's Alfred Collins and Michigan's Kenneth Grant. Both guys have the potential to bring much needed size and power to the middle of Buffalo's defense. Beane recently talked about what he's looking for in a DT, saying, is he going to walk his guy back into the pocket? Maybe he's not going to flip his hips, but he's going to condense the pocket and push the guard or center into the quarterback's lap. That's exactly what the Bills need. A guy who might not rack up 10 sacks a season, but can disrupt plays and make life easier for the pass rush. The good news is that Buffalo is well aware of its weaknesses. The bad news? The salary cap is a problem. The Bills are currently $10.2 million over the cap, which means Beane will have to get creative in free agency. A big money signing like Jaylon Johnson or L'Jarius Sneed might not be realistic, but a mid-tier signing like Asante Samuel Jr., that's doable. Pair that with a strong draft class, and suddenly, this defense could look a lot different in 2025. If we fix the secondary and shore up the defensive line, there's no reason this team can't make a serious Super Bowl run next season. Buffalo has a lot of decisions to make in the coming weeks. Whether it's signing Brown, drafting a young receiver, or finding another veteran in free agency, the Bills must ensure that Josh Allen has the weapons he needs. At the same time, upgrading the defense remains a top priority. Now it's your turn, Bills Mafia. Do you think Marquise Brown would be a good addition, or should the Bills look elsewhere? Should they focus more on defense instead? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more Bills updates. Go Bills!